Well, today I thought we'd get out the polymer clay and make the dolls some toaster pastries. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy this project is. All right, in order to prepare for today's video, I did condition my clay and I mixed my clay color. I mixed a basic dough, what I refer to as a dough or a bread color. This is equal parts of a beige. In this case, I used Fimo Sahara and a white. This information will be on the blog post, so don't worry, you don't need to take notes. I've got something in my clay. And if you don't understand the term conditioning, I will have a link up at the top corner of the video that will take you to my Polymer Clay 101 playlist, where you can learn more about working with polymer clay if you're kind of a novice at that. We'll have to start sometime, and this is a pretty easy project. This week we're only making the toaster pastries that are whole, that are not broken open. I'm hoping next week we'll have part 2 of this, and we'll make some that are broken open so you can see the fillings. And I may even have another surprise bonus for that video. So, also in preparation, I made myself 2 patterns. I made one for the filling and one for the pastry itself. The filling one is 1 1/8 inch by 3/4 of an inch. Again, this information will be in the blog post. The exterior of the toaster pastry is 1 inch wide by 1 3/8 inches long. And I like to make my patterns like this out of 8 squares to 1 inch graph paper. That makes it really easy to measure things. So I'm going to put that to the side, and I'm going to get ready to roll this out. So first I'm going to take, I have some cornstarch in a container off to the side, just cornstarch like you use in the kitchen. And I like to use a makeup brush, specifically a blush type brush. These are really inexpensive at Dollar Tree and Walmart, places like that. I think even Target and those places have inexpensive makeup brushes. And then I'm going to cut this. That will help this to not stick too badly. Just like you use flour when you're working with pie dough or something like that in your kitchen, we use cornstarch when we're working with our polymer clay. Now I have 2 really thin sticks. These are the Hobby Lobby version of skinny sticks. I think they're called slim sticks, but they're thinner than a craft stick. And they're a good thickness for this because each of our toaster pastries is going to be a total of 3 layers. So I'm going to use my clay roller. I put one of those sticks on each side, and I'm rolling my clay. Now, if I was not trying to record this, I would actually be turning my entire tile around rather than picking the clay up because it does stretch it a little bit. But because I'm trying to keep this centered, well, as best as I can, as you can tell, I'm not centered because there's something off on my tripod. But I like to roll from different directions, and this will help. So I'm turning the clay rather than the whole tile. And just roll until when you get to the end of the clay, you are no longer dropping down to the height of the sticks. There we go. Now I'm going to cut a straight edge, just a straight line, and I'm going to use my pastry, the bigger pattern first. I'm going to line it up here. I'm going to use the top edge of it to kind of do that, and I am going to move this out of my way. I will bring it back in a minute, but it's a little easier to work if I don't have too much clay in my way. And it is trying to stick. I apparently missed that spot with the cornstarch. Now, I'm going to cut 2 of these because we need 2 of this size for each. And this is, I'm making 1 toaster pastry right now. I'll take this clay and I'm going to cut a piece for the filling. And the filling doesn't have to be perfect. The other piece doesn't have to be perfect either. It's okay if you're off a little. We're going to trim it again anyway. Now, I'm going to take the filling. Now remember, this is not going to be cut open, so we're never going to see this filling. We just need the height and the center of our toaster pastry. If you have some scrap clay and you want to dig that out and use up some of your scrap clay, this would be a good place to use scrap clay on that filling part. Since no one will ever see it, it's just there to hold this up. Run your knife under your clay so you're not stretching it as much. Line it up. Try and do a better job of centering it than I did. Now I'm going to use a ball tool. You could use a clean paintbrush handle. You could use a large ball tool. You could use your fingertips if you don't have anything else to do this step with. That would be perfectly fine. But basically what we're doing is we're sealing that clay together and kind of thinning that edge out. Now, put this back on top, lining it up. Making sure we're cutting with the cutting edge of our knife. I'm trying my best not to stick my head right underneath the camera, which I have a bad habit of doing. All right. Now those little scraps can go back into our clay piece, and we can roll them out again. I have a ball tool. I believe these were sold as nail art ball tools or dotting tools. This end has a very small, kind of halfway pointed end. You could use the end of a toothpick if you wanted to. You could use anything for this. I am going to go 1, 2, 3. Then if you're frosting your Pop-Tarts, these holes aren't going to show much. We're still going to put them on though, because the frosting will drop down into them. Now, I'm going to take some chalk. This is a yellow ochre colored artist chalk, like you see artists use to do drawings and things with. And I have this is an eyeshadow brush, which is my preference for putting this on. I know some clay artists use a paintbrush. I prefer an eyeshadow brush. I think it works much better because it's designed to pick up powder, not liquid. And we just want a light dusting. Now, normally I would make a whole bunch of these, all the ones I'm going to make. I would do one step at a time. I would get them all stacked. I would get them all sealed together, trimmed down, all the dots on, and then I would come back last step and do this so I didn't have to clean my entire tray again. But I'm going to have to clean my tray to do any more. Now I'm going to very carefully, again, running my knife underneath, kind of sawing it away so that I don't stretch this. I don't want to stretch this at this point. Now, if you wanted to, we'll do a baked one later. I'll show you how to do a baked one that's been toasted. But right now, these are like they're supposed to look like they came fresh out of the package. Maybe your doll's just got them out. And then run some on the bottom in case anyone looks at the bottom of your toaster pastry, and move it onto your baking surface. In my case, that's one of these. I gotta move something off of here because I got something I don't want to have you see. Just one of these unglazed paper plates. You know, the kind that your food always spills on your lap when you use them to eat with. They're perfect for doing clay. So I am going to do several more of these. I will come back and show you how to do a toasted toaster pastry as far as the chalking goes. And I'll tell you about the baking then. All right, I've gotten some more toaster pastries made, and we are going to make this one look like it's been toasted. For that, I got some chalk off of this kind of a light rust color, and we don't want very much. I've noticed that most of the time these only just barely color around the edges. We don't want too much color. So just do just a little bit. This is one of those where less is more, because if you overdo this, it's just going to look odd. Now, what I like to do is go back to that first color. Kind of blend it. All right, now I'm going to put this on the tray with the others. I am going to bake these at the recommended temperature for my clay. If you're using 2 brands of clay and they have slightly different baking temperatures, say one says 250, one says 275, bake at the lower temperature. Everything will be fine then. And I'm going to bake these about 12 minutes. I found that worked really well on my last batch that I did. So when these are baked and all the way cool, I'll come back and we can move on to adding some frosting. All right, I have these baked. I have 4 of them. I'm going to do 2 with white frosting and 1 with a beige color that kind of to replicate the brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tart, and then 1 with a pink frosting, simply because I thought it was a really pretty color. So on my piece of aluminum foil here, I have 2 pools of liquid Sculpey in white. And this thing is not doing what I want it to today. It's leaking, but it's not coming out right. So we're going to color this. We're going to color 1 pool a beige color, kind of a tan, warm tan, and 1 a pink. So for the pink, we're going to use this rose madder. Now, what I use for doing my liquid clay is I color it with oil paint. Again, I'm going to refer you to my kind of clay 101 type series, because I talk on there about why we use oil paint rather than acrylic paint. Because I know there are people on YouTube that are doing acrylic, that are doing similar projects or jewelry and all kinds of things with liquid clay, and they're using acrylic paint, and that can be very dangerous. So I've got white, titanium white, and I've got the little bit of rose madder. I think rose madder is a prettier color. It doesn't turn orangey like some of the other reds do. So I mix that together, and I take just a tiny bit, and I'm going to mix it into this. Now this will not, this liquid clay, just like regular polymer clay, it will not get hard until you bake it. So if you don't use all of this today, cover it up and put it in a safe place, and you can come back to it. So I've got some more titanium white there. This is burnt umber, and I've also got some yellow ochre. And really important, we are going to do a test bake on this piece of parchment paper. We're going to make sure that this is going to be, number 1, the correct color. I can adjust the color before I bake it. I cannot adjust the color once I bake it. Also, if you've got too much oil paint in your liquid clay, it's not going to cure correctly, and you'll find that out by baking it off. If, however, you were to put it on your project and bake it off, then you're stuck with a ruined project. So I'm going to mix that in. I'm going to take just a little bit, so I'm not on camera, just a little bit, and just a little bit of this one. And I'm going to bake this off in my oven just as if it was clay. I'll give it about 10 minutes, and when this is baked and cooled, I'll come back and we will go on to frosting if this is right. All right, these are baked and cooled to room temperature, and they have cured just fine. Be sure and let it cool to room temperature after it's baked, because until then it will feel soft and sticky. Once it's cooled to room temperature, it should be smooth and not sticky anymore. So let's go ahead and do a couple of these. I'm going to leave the one that looks baked. I'm going to do both it and one of the others in the white. So this one, usually from what I've seen, doesn't have any sprinkles or anything like that on it. So I'm just going to put some, and actually I'm going to leave this one not, I'll leave this one not frosted, because you can buy some of these that aren't frosted too. So we're going to do that, and I'll put this to the side. And then I'm going to do a pink one. And I noticed that the frosting is usually not on really perfectly, so if you don't get it exactly, you know, centered and covered perfectly, that's okay. And we've got this one. Whoops, I think I've got, let's see if I can get, just kind of use it off my tray rather than waste that. I am going to have to get to a craft store pretty soon and buy more. Let's see, am I under camera? And this is a white liquid clay, so it's going to come out white. It also comes in, sometimes I've gotten a transparent one, a translucent one also. But since this is already white, I don't have to add any paint to it to make it a color. And I am going to first put just a few. These are micro beads. They're little no-hole micro beads. And I love using them for sprinkles on doll food. And I'm going to put a few green ones on the pink one too. And then I've got red. Just go gently so you don't get the whole bottle out on your project at once. And I am going to add some purple ones to this one, and maybe some blue to the pink. I don't have a really pretty blue. I have kind of a light blue. I wish I had a dark blue, but this is what I've got. All right, so now back in the oven with these for about 10 minutes at the recommended temperature, and when they're all baked and cooled, I'll come back and we can look at the finished project. All right, we have our toaster pastries all baked off and they're completely cool. In fact, I filmed these yesterday and I love how they came out. I think they are so cute. I think they're gonna look great with your dolls. And as you saw in the title, this is part 1 of our toaster pastries. In part 2, I'm going to show you how to fill these with a filling, and we are going to make some with bites out of them or broken in two, things like that. So be sure and come back for that. Be sure and check the blog post. There will be photos and more information over there. If you enjoyed the video, be sure and hit the like button. Leave me a comment. What kinds of things would you like to see in future videos? What foods are your dolls looking to eat? Let me know and I'll see what I can do. If you enjoy my content and haven't subscribed, I encourage you, hit that subscription button and the notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. Thank you very much for watching today, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.